So, okay, society tells you to be like this, but do I feel to be like that? No.
As older we get, we forget how to play.
I don't want to resist to anything. I don't want to resist to life. I want to embrace life. I want to make love with life.
It's truly a new beginning for women to take place and to fully own ourselves.
To find inner peace means to develop an original thought, an original way of thinking, which is mine.
Hej och välkommen till ännu ett avsnitt av Coffee and Confidence Podcast. Jag hoppas att ni har njutit av våra tidigare podcastavsnitt. Om det är så att du inte vill missa ett avsnitt så vill jag jättegärna påminna dig om att följa oss på Spotify eller på YouTube så att du inte missar kommande avsnitt. Idag så har jag bjudit in en gäst som fascinerade mig från första sekund. Det var så att hon dök upp i mitt Instagramflöde och jag bara kände wow, den här kvinnan, hon måste jag bjuda in till min podcast. Paola Maugeri, hon är en radiopersonalitet. Hon har skrivit 7 böcker, hon har rest jorden runt och intervjuat världens största rockstjärnor. Och hon har också rest jorden runt för att upptäcka sig själv. Very welcome.
Thank you very much. I love your Swedish.
Yeah? Do you understand some of it?
A little bit, yeah. It was very nice, actually.
Okay, with the Skåne accent.
Paola Maugeri.
Yeah, that was a little bit more trying to be Italian.
Well, it was something fantastic, so...
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Very well.
I'm so happy to have you here.
And I'm very happy to be here, so thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, and it was not that long ago that you and I met for the first time. We were having a drink during the day, not an alcoholic drink.
Of course.
And we were just connecting, and it felt so beautiful to have found another soul. And I was also surprised that we live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, and we both wear bangs.
We do.
So
it's our signature
it's like
style.
Our statement.
I love it. Especially here in Malmö, you know. I don't know if you bike, but if you're biking with bangs in Malmö, it's like impossible.
I know, that's why I always wear a hat.
Yeah, okay.
So my bangs can get protected. You never know.
Great trick. So I was introducing you, telling you a little bit about yourself, but would you like to introduce yourself as well, telling me what a little bit more about your life and what made you sit here today talking with me?
Okay. So first of all, thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
I'm very happy to have this experience because everything in Sweden for me is brand new.
Yeah.
Since I moved here 1.5 years ago. So starting absolutely from scratch. And I'm loving this new adventure of my life. But maybe your audience can know a little bit more about myself. As I think you said, I'm a radio personality in Italy. I've been hosting a very popular show since long time, and I've been traveling the world in the last 25 years interviewing more than 1,300 rock stars and musicians. Wow. So this is my main job. Music is like my biggest passion. I'm a humble servant of the muse of music since I was very young, and I've been VJing for MTV. Yeah, I've been a presenter for MTV for more than 20 years. And I remember one of my first interviews, it was with Roxette in Stockholm.
Really?
Never been in Stockholm in my life.
Wow, in the 90s.
I had a fantastic time with them. They invited me to this amazing restaurant and we spent 2 days and had an amazing hotel. And it was minus 17. It was so cold. But I completely fell in love with Stockholm and they were so lovely and they welcomed me in such an incredible way. So now that I live in Sweden, for me, it's so nice to remember those kind of things in a way, because I believe we are all interconnected. So they were my first lovely sweets to welcome me in Sweden long time ago. And yes, but at the same time, since I had the chance to hang out with incredible humans 5 years ago, after I had this illuminating interview with Roger Waters from Pink Floyd in New York, I founded my mentoring platform. I've been studying Buddhism since 1997 and wrote 7 books about conscious living in Italy. I wrote the first books about conscious eating and conscious living 15 years ago. Wow. So music and spirituality, let's say, are my 2 biggest passions.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you also play music yourself.
Yeah. I used to play music in a band a long time ago, but when I turned 50, 5 years ago, I said, well, my bass was like looking at me, staring at me from the wall, and said, listen, it's 20 years, you haven't been hugging me in the last 20 years, maybe it's time for me to be in your arms again. Aww. And I started again, and it's fantastic because I really want to inspire people follow me, who listen to my radio show, to my podcast, or like who read my books, that it's never too late, right, to be passionate about something. So I started playing again 5 years ago, and it was fantastic.
Beautiful. And I just love to see the small snapshots of your everyday when you're sharing, when you're playing the bass or just sitting and meditating, or I feel this calmness inside of you. And also when I'm sitting talking to you, has it always been like that?
Not always, because I grew up in a very, how could I say, hectic place, but at the same time very confusive, because I grew up in Sicily back in the 90s, and it wasn't like the best place where to grow. So that's why I moved to Sweden as well, because I really wanted to live in a country where calmness is still a value in a way, and you're not pushed, you're not behooved to stress all the time. So this calmness is something that I've been conquering during my Buddhist studies, and I've been meditating a lot, and I traveled in Eastern countries to learn how to meditate. I fasted for more than 3 weeks. Wow. I went through a lot of experiences to have this kind of calmness, which is an inner calmness. And so sometimes I don't make it, but I think that belongs to the process. But most of the times I know how to be calm, how to soothe my nervous system. And I have to say that living in front of the sea here in your beautiful country is really helping me.
Yeah, that was the first things you shared with me.
Yeah, exactly.
When I asked, why did you move to Sweden?
Yeah.
Because you wanted to stay close to the sea and the nature. That's really beautiful to hear.
Yeah, and I think this is still a very healthy country.
Yeah.
And so I think we're very lucky, and we should be more grateful. I mean, I'm full of gratitude. In fact, the only things I can say in Sweden, jag känner mig jättetacksam.
Oh.
Because I feel so tacksam about being here. And yeah, and as I was saying, to feel that things here are working in the right direction in a way. I mean, this is still a healthy country, as I was saying before. So for me, it's very nice to have this experience, although, of course, I don't have a lot of acquaintances or have absolutely to create my network, but still, this is still a beautiful adventure.
And that is so cool to hear, because being brought up here in Sweden and moving abroad as well, but coming back again and spending my whole adulthood here, I feel like what you're describing, I often feel like we are so stressed here. We're lacking the sun, we're lacking that joie de vivre, being in the moment. We're always chasing things here, being that structured and organized and things. So it's beautiful to hear that someone that moves to our country can see those side as well, compared to Italy, for example, where I see it's more like you're enjoying the moment,
Beautiful Natalie, I mean, there are so many common places.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Sweden is a stressful country, but Italy, maybe there's this joie de vivre because it's more sunny. I know there's a lack of sun in Sweden. I am totally understand. But at the same time, I think that the quality of life here, things are simpler than in the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
So and it's not that noisy. Like nobody talks about the acoustic pollution, which is one of the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And Sweden is still a silent country in a way.
It is.
And I think this is a beautiful thing. Even to raise up children in Sweden, it's definitely easier than in other countries. In Italy, of course, there is the fashion. I mean, I come from Milan. I lived in Milan for almost 30 years. So, I mean, so fashion and nice food and the sun is shining, I understand. But it's so polluted. It's so stressed. And sincerely, although I love my country, people, they're valued for how much they produce.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't think this is correct. I don't think this is a cultural value that should be shared, because we value as human beings simply for the fact that we were born. It's just, we are miracles.
Yeah.
And you realize that when you want to have a child and this child doesn't get to you. So you understand the miracle of being born. And that's why we should be respected and cherished only for the fact that we are humans. This is such a great chance of being human, to be alive in this lifetime. I think this is fantastic. And we forget. We take it for granted.
We do. We do.
And we should remind of that. That's why my mentoring platform, it's called Humans, because I push people and try to inspire people to more than the label. I'm a doctor, I'm a content creator, I'm an artist, I'm a rock star. The most important thing is that we are humans, and this is such a treasure to take care of.
It is. And I'm so impressed as well that you shared with me when we met the first time that you're actually bringing women from Italy to Sweden, introducing this culture, and you're bathing in the sea and having these calm moments. And
absolutely,
it's so beautiful to hear.
And they love it, because I hold those retreats where I encourage women to, especially adult women, to fully embody their femininity, although they're 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 80. I have people of any age in the platform. So it's nice to see women of 80 years old gathering with 25 years old girls, because this is something which is completely missing in our culture. We just hang out with people of our age.
Right.
People of our, how can I say, like social standard. And this is so, this is not good, because we need to hang around with people of different races, different status, different social status, different cultures, because this is so enriching.
It is.
And I'm learning so much. That's why I love the multicultural aspect of Malmo as well.
Yeah.
So when I invite women to come here and I organize those retreats for them, it's so nice. They can be far from home and they can liberate themselves from a lot of commonplaces regarding ageism, for example. And it's nice to see things from a different point of view. Sometimes you have to go far to see things in a different point of view.
Yeah.
And even we stay naked at the bus too. I mean, this doesn't exist in Italy, like a place where you can just hang out naked with other women and realize how beautiful we are, regardless of sex, shape, age. It's the triumph of femininity. Although we can have scars, sickness, problems, but we are alive.
It's so beautiful.
And every time they are like, oh my goodness, this is such an incredible place.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really want to inspire people to become their the rockstar of their lives.
I love it.
Rockstar, they're such a great example. Look at
Right.
Pink Floyd, look at Rolling Stones. They're in their 80s
Yeah.
and they're still like jumping around on stages and doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the best are still to come, has yet to come.
Yeah, and I also often feel as well like as older we get, we forget how to play and nurture that playfulness inside of us. We forget about that because we're so structured and we have to behave because we're adults and, we're forced to be like behaving and forgetting how to just let loose and have fun or, as you say, playing the instrument or go out and dancing or nurture yourself with what gives you energy in your soul and body. We forget about that. Or as you say, being together with other women as beautiful as you are and connecting with each other and with the nature. And we forget to have fun.
Yes, and you forget how to connect, to hold hands. You rarely hold a hand of an 80-year-old woman unless she's your grandma, for example.
Yeah.
But being with another woman who is questioning about her femininity and she's like 75 and you're in your 30s, I think this is great.
It is.
And holding hands and dancing together and just really taking care of ourselves. This is so important, and with other women this is, I think, absolutely paramount. But you know what, because before you were saying, oh, we are adults, so we are so structured. The thing is, Nathalie, that a lot of people they get old but they never become adult.
I know. I love it.
Adulthood is one of the most incredible chances we have in this life. And I don't want to get old without getting adult. I want to be adult in my choices, in my power of self-determination. I want to be adult. I want to be an example for my son. I want to be stable emotionally. I want to hold myself in my consistency and integrity. These are so important things, and those things mean to be a true adult. Otherwise, you just get wrinkles, but you're not adult. And when you're a true adult, then you can enjoy playing,
Right.
because you are responsible and you're doing that responsibly. And I think this is the most important thing. So not blaming other people for your own choices, for your own life.
Right.
The government, the taxes, and like my colleagues. And no, I'm totally aware and I'm totally responsible of my life. And this is a sign of adulthood that I think should be encouraged.
It's so beautiful. I think I shared with you as well last time we met that I was at this education in Jönköping, and I was missing the train because I was having a connecting train. So we were late, so we missed that train, and which led me to sit and wait for 1 hour for the next train. And then I met this wonderful woman. She was around 85 years old, traveling with herself. And she told me, yeah, I just visited a funeral, one of my best friends since 30 years. So we sat and talked for this hour, and I helped her on the train, and we were traveling back here to Skåne together. And it was so beautiful to just hear her with this calmness and talk about life. You know, she used to be a psychiatrist working with infants and with children, and sharing that life story. It was so beautiful to hear. And I remember when I helped her up off the train to the platform, she just turned and said, "Good luck with her away." And I was filled with so much love and joy when she said that. And she said, it's truly a new beginning for women to take place and to fully own ourselves. That was so beautiful.
And she was remembering the name of your
She
project.
did, yeah.
I mean, so I'm sure
Yeah.
you felt like seen and
Yeah.
that she was truly listening to you.
She was. And she was so curious because I told her, like, yeah, I had this woman, she's helping me, the one filming here, editing everything. And she said, okay, so she's your employee? And I said, no, she's a freelancer. And then she was so curious about, okay, so how does that work? Because back in my days,
Of course,
you couldn't
things
work
were
like that.
different, yeah.
Yeah, she was so curious still. You could see that playfulness inside of her eyes. And it was just beautiful.
Fantastic.
So you shared that you came across spirituality, and I also saw that you've been doing a lot of spiritual path and travels, and you also brought your son. That was really beautiful to see. When did you get in contact with spirituality and searching within?
I think when I was 8 years old, because my mother, she was cooking some meat and I fainted.
Wow.
And that was like, I guess, my first unconscious way of saying, okay, I feel different in a way. So I think that stopping eating animals back when I was 12 in a Sicilian family who has never heard talking about vegetarianism.
Yeah.
I think this was my first move towards a more conscious life in a way. And even before the name vegan was existing. So in fact, I'm not very fond of all those labels. I say that I eat plant-based, and because I think that this is a very important path this is a very important part in any spiritual path. So it started like this, and then I started practicing Buddhism when I was 29 and never stopped since then. And then yes, I've been traveling a lot. And well, I had Timo, my son, when I was 39, so it was time for me. I was already an adult, and I think I was truly an adult, and it was for me so beautiful that this fantastic kid has chosen me as his mother, and that's why he always comes with me. And he has done more than 170 flights.
Wow.
Went to India already 3 times. I mean, because I think I breastfed him for 4 years and a half, and so I thought that it was important for him to stay with his mom.
Yeah.
And travel around. So he came with me interviewing Coldplay in Liverpool with U2. I mean, he was like touring and staying in family and friends'
In diapers.
room. Exactly, like during the concerts. And yeah, the last beautiful journey we embarked together was we have been invited from the cabinet of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So we went to India just before the COVID with other 35,000 pilgrims from all over the world.
Wow.
And this was amazing. And it was pretty tough for Timo as well, because we were in Bihar, in Bodh Gaya. That's where the original Buddha got enlightened. And it's the poorest part of the country of India. So you can imagine how tough it could be. But at the same time, there's something so spiritual. There's something so untangible, but that you can feel. And this was a beautiful experience for Timo as well. And yeah, so many travels. But the only time I didn't take him with me, it's when I did this long fast in Thailand 10 years ago. Because, I mean, when you fast for 3 weeks, you cannot take care of anyone else. You just have to lay down and take care of your body and see how your body is reacting. So this is the only time when he didn't come with me, but otherwise he's always with me. And now he speaks wonderful Swedish and English. I'm really proud of him. He's adapting very well.
So I'm so inspired by reading more about you, getting to know you, and take
you.
part of your path. And it's been so cool to see that you're actually really going your own way and doing whatever feels great, with writing books, doing the radio show, your community, traveling all around the world, interviewing these amazing people. You had a TEDx talk as well that I was watching, and it's so amazing to see that it feels like you're leading yourself from a really free place inside of you, and owning it in every part of you, and that's really beautiful to see.
Actually, I really appreciate your sensitivity. I mean, you're very good in what you do.
Thank you.
So, congratulations.
Thanks.
And because I think it's not easy. This is my secret weapon in a way, because I've been doing this job for such a long time, to make people feeling at ease and welcomed. I think this is important. so important because we all have a story to share, and every story is important. And from every story, you can be inspired. But thank you for noticing what you have been just saying. I mean, yeah, I consider myself the leader of myself, and I've always been like this, even when I was very young, saying, okay, one day I came back from school, I was 12, I said, listen, I won't eat any animals anymore. And my mother, she said, why? You need animals, to grow up and to the proteins and stuff like this. And I did, yes, but animals are my friends. I don't want to eat my friends. So, and she said, okay, I mean, let's see. I mean, she said, I don't know how to cook like without meat, but we can make it. So she was very welcoming. I think it's important to do things that resonate with you.
Yeah.
Because we're so focused on the wrong things, on just like acting just to please other people.
Right.
First of all, I want to please myself because I'm the only person I go to bed with and I wake up with every morning. Well, sometimes I go to bed with other people as well. I mean, mostly it's like myself. So I really have to take care of myself, of what I'm saying, and I really want to be connected with my intuition.
Yeah.
Because intuition is such a sacred part. So, okay, society tells you to be like this, but do I feel to be like that? No. So I want to follow my intuition. So I think this is so important, but at the same time, those things, they need to be nurtured. So I try to connect with my intuition every day. So for example, every Monday morning, that's why I was a little bit late today, I hold a meditation for hundreds of people all over at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
Because I invite people to wake up very early when they haven't seen their phone yet, when nobody's bothering around. There's just you and your intuition is talking to you. That's why we should exercise this beautiful Indian concept, which is called Brahma Muhurta. And Muhurta is Brahma is God. So it's the hour of God. And it's 1 hour, 36 minutes before the sunrise. So this is the perfect moment where you can really connect with yourself. And when I launched my mentoring platform, my team was like, oh, this is completely crazy. You cannot say people to wake up at 5. Nobody will join your community. But I don't want everybody to join my community. I want those people who understand the importance of doing certain things.
Yeah.
Because if I wake up in the morning and I grab my phone, I'm not allowing myself to listen to myself. So it takes a lot of courage. I know. I mean, even moving to Sweden, I was like, because I have to tell you that in 2009, I was appointed Goodwill Ambassador for a new protocol on climate aimed at young Europeans during the COP15. And Copenhagen, that period, was called Hopenhagen. So they took away the COP and replaced with hope. Nice. Cool. And I was like, oh my goodness, I really want to live in a Scandinavian country, and I have always loved Sweden. And I was like, I want to move to Sweden. And then when all the COVID things, and I got stuck at home for 3 months, and they were asking papers every time I was walking my dog.
Right.
I was like,
back in Italy. Yeah.
Yeah, in Italy it was really tough. I was like, okay, it's time to move. It's time to fulfill my dream and to live in a Scandinavian country. Although I'm an adult, although here I have a persona which is pretty nurtured, and in Sweden nobody knows me. But I said, okay, I can do that. And in 3 months I sold everything. My car, my apartment, my beautiful piece of furniture, everything. I sold everything. And I came here with 3 suitcases, and this was one of the best choices of my life, because sometimes we have to leave what is certain to embark on the uncertainty, because uncertainty, there are so many hidden gems.
It is,
and that's what happened. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm doing my own little journey with that at the moment, trying to get loose of all old paradigms from my childhood, and you know, how everything is related to success, and what is success, and what does it mean to you, and that whole bigger picture, you know. So it's beautiful and inspiring to hear that you just left everything and listened to yourself and did that. How do you practice to listen to yourself daily, except going up early and doing your meditation?
Swimming in the Baltic is, I have to say, is one of my biggest master, because it's cold.
Yeah.
And then you have to know how to stay comfortable when you feel uncomfortable. So this is very charming for me. And long meditations, I write a lot, but every time I have this like kind of personal secret, which is not gonna be personal anymore, but it's just like every time that something happens, I ask myself, how does it sound for me? How is it for me? Because we all have that inner voice.
Yeah.
The thing is that we silent the inner voice with crap foods, with alcohol, hanging out with people we don't share anything with,
Right.
Smoking cigarettes, using drugs. We embark on a numbness process. Instead of embarking on a awakening process, we embark on a numbness process. That's why I think this is so important to every time you were saying, what is success? What does success mean to you is the most important question. Right. Because nowadays, you know, Nathalie, when I started, Instagram didn't exist.
No.
I was hanging out with Coldplay for 2 months with them during their American tour, or 1 week in Dublin with U2, or hanging out with Rockstar in Stockholm, or Lou Reed and Laurie Anderson, or in London with Iggy Pop, and in New York with Talking Heads. Nobody was asking, okay, can I have a picture with you?
Yeah.
Now that I did this site, my newest site, which is paolamaugeri.se, and my team was like, oh, we need pictures of your interview with Moby and Beck, and I was like, I don't have those kind of pictures, because at that time you weren't taking pictures.
No.
Because we weren't like showing off all the time. You were documenting, but in a different way. So of course I have like old beta tapes, which are big like this. And there's one person who's taking all the beta tapes and it's like taking some images, you know, because it was completely different. You were doing those things because that were your biggest passion. You didn't ask Bono, can we have a picture together? No. It's not that. It's like listening what he has to say, the most important thing. The focus was completely different. Does it make sense? So, I mean, now when I see people, they have millions of followers, and you ask yourself, okay, but what do they do? And of course, I don't want to criticize those people, because if they have millions of followers, it's because they are good at something.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting. I mean, for me, success is being completely connected to my inner self. You know, this society judges us for how much money we make.
Right.
We should be judged by what kind of children do we raise.
Yeah.
How many people we encourage. I mean, it's completely other standards.
Yeah.
And I think this is so incredibly important. So that's why I don't want to look at numbers. I want to look at experiences I want to look at the things that I've been doing, and which are so enriching, because life can stop in any moment.
You've been writing a book called Rock and Resilience.
Yes.
And I love that title, because resilience is something that is so important to embrace, I think. Absolutely. If you want to enjoy life.
Absolutely.
And resilience is not being stubborn,
Oh my goodness, no.
it's more about letting go and flow. And it equals also being allowed, like transcending from the masculine feminine to the feminine energy and balancing that. How do you practice that daily?
It's very interesting because I wanted to create something which was sounding like rock and roll, but instead of roll, there was like resilience.
Yeah.
Because actually, the biggest rock stars that I've met, they taught me a lot about resilience, even before the word resilience was like becoming so common.
Okay,
Because
how come?
actually, the word resilience has been used in the metallurgic slang for a long time. It's only during the 60s that it became a term used by psychiatrists and psychologists. So it's a term that started to be part of social sciences. But until the 60s, nobody has ever heard about resilience, because resilience represents the capacity of different materials to be back at the original form after they are they
Bended or something.
exactly to different blows and stuff like this. Because we need to resilience, I think it's a magic word. Because being resilient means to transform difficulty into a springboard. Being resilient means to transform something which is impossible to a bunch of possibilities. We can be resilient in our relationships, and it can be resilient with ourselves. It's just accepting ourselves, first of all, and know that it's not resisting. People, they think that resilience is a synonymous of resistance, but it's not the same thing. I don't want to resist to anything. I don't want to resist to life. I want to embrace life. I want to make love with life. But I want to be resilient. Of course, there is a beautiful nuance in the word resistance as well. But I think that resilience is the perfect word for the life we are living nowadays. So it requires us to be more smooth, responsible, to be transurfers in a way. So to go not against the waves, but to embrace the waves, to embrace the challenges, to see that in anything there's always a lesson. In fact, in Buddhism, we say that what happens, all the events that happens to our life, they are neutral. It's not good and bad. It depends on your reaction to those things.
Yeah.
So that's why I encourage the people who are with me in the mentoring platform to switch their minds from being reactive to become proactive. And when you start to be proactive instead of reacting, then you have to develop resilience, because the resilience gives you other points of view. But to receive those other points of view, you have to be ready to be open and welcoming, because there are so many nuances that we don't see. And I think that being resilient, even in our relationships, can be really, really, really fascinating.
It's so cool that you describe it as like that, because I often think about when you were talking about the waves, and I'm always thinking about like learning to surf,
Yeah.
surfing on those waves. So whenever I meet something that doesn't feel good in the body, or something that is not correct as you receive it, I try to imagine that vision of surfing.
Exactly.
Surfing on the waves. So it was cool that you mentioned that. Wow. Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you can just give one piece of advice to our listeners to start to look within. I mean, I know it's a journey, but just where can you start?
A lot of people, they ask me, how can you silence the mind? We cannot silence the mind, because the mind is made to think. What we can do is how to learn how to govern our thoughts. And this is the only way we have to find that inner peace, because the mind talks to herself. And we think about 60,000 of thoughts every day. But the bad news is that 50,000 out of 60,000 are the same of the day before,
Yeah.
are the same of the previous day. And the bad news is that 40,000 are thoughts that we were taken from the people we grew up with, or from the people we were raised.
Yeah.
So to find inner peace means to develop an original thought, an original way of thinking, which is mine. So one way is to start observing our thoughts. Thoughts, they are not good or bad. Why do I have so many bad thoughts? Well, my baby, those are the thoughts that your mother were thinking, and you just learned them. Are those yours? Do they reflect your life? So it's not like judging thoughts or silence the mind. This is absolutely impossible. But it's just observing without opinion, without judgment, in a non-judgmental way, to observe our thoughts and take the good ones, which I don't mean like the beautiful thoughts, but those who are born with us, our original thoughts. We'll talk about our own story, personal story, and not the story of the society, the culture, the parents, the family, the acquaintances. And this is so important. So when we start observing our thoughts, we can really live a happy life, because we can create new thoughts as well. And say this thought is more empowering, for example. This gives me more joy. So I think that this is the only way. So sit in silence, stay still, and start observing our thoughts. I think this is the very beginning of a self-empowerment path, definitely.
Wow. Powerful.
Thank you.
I think that's a beautiful end of our conversation. And I know that our conversations, they are going to keep on growing, because I felt like that when we met the first time. Like, this is
Absolutely.
not the first time we have met.
Absolutely.
It has been a connection before, and it was so cool to experience that.
And I really want to thank Julia that made us connect, because I think you're an important connection for me. I feel happy to share that with you. I feel happy to be on your podcast, and I think we can create beautiful things together.
Yeah, looking forward to.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ciao.
Jag hoppas att det här samtalet inspirerade dig till att våga titta inåt och hitta din inre frihet. Vi är så tacksamma att få göra det här fina samarbetet tillsammans med Deduxiana här i Malmö. Vi har fått tillgång till deras showroom med de här fantastiskt härliga möblerna. Och här på Deduxiana så kan du njuta av frukost, lunch eller en härlig AV. Vi ser fram emot att bjuda på fler härliga avsnitt. Glöm inte att prenumerera så att du inte missar nästa. The day we met, I was actually coming home to my husband Pablo and said, you know what, I've finally found a person that is going to make me winter bathe, because I've been resisting that for several years. Having him and friends trying to convince me to go on winter bathe, and there's something in my body just saying no, and trying to listening to that. But when I met you and you talked about this amazing experience, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm gonna give it a try. She's gonna be the person that is.
So he felt so frustrated, I guess. He has been telling you for ages to winter bathe.
He got really upset. He was like, what? I've been trying to make you do that for ages. What is happening? I don't know. You're not selling it in the same way, you know.